Hello, class. How are we doing today?
Hi,
Uh,
I'm good.
all right, all right. We're going to get started today. We've got a lot to cover today. Today, we are going to do what we'll call a blended class or blended stations. And what the blended stations do, it allows you guys to get the content from different stations. So you're not just hearing me talk, which you will hear me talk, but you also get to see the video. We're going to do a video first. And then we're going to go to 3 different stations. We're going to talk about government today. I need you guys to understand the 3 different types of government and the importance of government. So let's start with the video. Before we get, well, we're starting now.
You're cruising the Pacific in your luxury yacht when you come across a deserted island. Turns out, it's not so deserted after all. There's a bunch of islanders arguing about who owns all the coconuts. You approach them and ask who's in charge. No one, they say. You ask them if they have a government or any laws. One of them asks, what are those? Well, you say, a government organizes people and makes laws or rules to protect their property and rights. That means you won't have to fight over the coconuts anymore. You guys want to start one? The islanders nod. There are lots of different types, you say. First, you have to decide who gets to have the decision-making power. One type is a democracy. That's when you give everyone decision-making power. A democracy can either be direct or indirect. In a direct democracy, everyone gets a vote on every major decision. It works best for small groups like the one here on this island, but only if you guys can agree to follow the decision with the most votes. If you keep arguing like this, all your coconuts will rot. There's also an indirect democracy, also called a representative democracy, or simply a republic. We have this type of government where I come from, the United States. We elect a few individuals to represent us as groups. We trust those people to make decisions in our best interests. If they don't, we can elect new representatives. Another type of government is called an oligarchy. That's when a small group of leaders makes decisions for the whole group. They tend to be members of the same political party, meaning they have the same ideas about how to run the government. It doesn't matter if the people they govern disagree with them. Since these leaders hold the highest positions in the government, they have the power to make all their decisions based on the party's ideas. An autocracy is when one person runs the government, making all the decisions. A monarchy is a type of autocracy run by a queen or king. Monarchs rule for life and are hereditary, meaning each new queen or king is a family member of the previous monarch, usually a son or daughter. In an absolute monarchy, there's a single ruler with no limits on power. In a constitutional monarchy, the monarch is limited by a constitution and laws. A dictatorship is also an autocracy. A dictator rules a nation by force, making all government decisions, sometimes with the help of advisors. Dictators want power for life. They like to take all the coconuts for themselves, if you know what I mean. There's also socialism and communism. They're not really a type of government. They're more like ideas of how to run a government. Socialism is an economic system that limits individual ownership. Socialists think all resources should be shared equally. In other words, everyone gets the same number of coconuts. In a communist system, leaders of the Communist Party put socialist ideas into practice. They make all the important economic decisions. If your island was communist, they would control all the coconuts, assigning who would collect them, cut them down, deliver them, and drill them for milk. Communist governments tend to practice socialism and take the form of autocracies or oligarchies. They often use force to protect their power and limit trade with other nations. They try to meet most of their needs with their nation's own resources. So that's it. Democracy, oligarchy, and autocracy, the 3 main types of government. Got it? The natives nod and then look back at their coconuts. You bid them well, grabbing a coconut from the pile as you head back to the comfort of your yacht.
All right. So let me ask you this question. I'm going to shut this down. And I'm going to see what you guys got from the video. So I'll do stop share. Okay, is everybody with me?
Yeah.
So we got 3 types of government. What 3 types of government are there? What did y'all get from the video?
Okay, so basically,
right? Yeah. Oligarchy. That's it. That's it. So oligarchy. And oligarchy, and basically, like you want to what's not. No, no, you're good. You're good. Keep going. I like this. I like the engagement. And so basically, the U.S. is a democracy, to where we have direct and indirect, and so we're indirect because representatives govern the masses, but we have input, and so the oligarchy is where the few hold jurisdiction over everyone or power over everyone, and the autoarchy is basically like monarchy rule, where you have like the Queen of England and things of such, and you have families or a dictator with direct rule, and they're really not concerned too much of the input of anyone under them. They make rules for everyone else. That's right. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat all of those. We got the oligarchy, the autocracy, and the democracy. So which one do we live in America? What does America live in? We are a democracy. Now, Nakira, I'm going to need you to stop answering all the questions. There's more people in the room. You let somebody else answer the questions as well. So we've got democracy, but that was a good answer, democracy. So we have 3 stations where some of you are going to go to one station. I'm going to break up the other part of the room, the third of the room, into the second station. And then this group right here, y'all are going to stay with me. And we're going to talk about one level. Now, here are the instructions. I need you to follow the instructions, and I need you to move quickly. You have 45 seconds to transition from one station to the next station. This group can stay right where you are. This group right here, y'all stay here. Who is that mocking me? Every time I move my hand, they move their hand. Oh, okay. Don't worry about it. But the other group over here, you guys are going to be at the video that we just saw. There are going to be some questions that you're going to have to answer based on this video that we just saw. So you'll get the opportunity to see the video again. This group right here, you're going to have a reading assignment that you'll do. And it's a real short read. It's about everything we just saw in the video. And then you'll give some short answers. And then this group right here, we are going to talk amongst each other about what we just saw. So I'll start the lesson by introducing the government. A government, everybody knows what a government is. It organizes people and it makes laws or rules to protect your property and your rights. So if we don't have a government, what do you think happens to everything and everyone around you? Nakira, go ahead. You can answer this time. I think Timmy want to answer. You have a lot of disarray or a lot of problems. You will have a lot of problems. So I just want you to imagine just for a second that this big old dude that's bigger than you, he comes up and he says, "Give me your shoes." Well, with the government that we have right now, he can't just take the shoes. Why? Because the police will come out. Nakira, are you sleeping? Nakira, I'm going to need you to sit up. I'm going to need you to sit up. Thank you. So the police will come and get him. If we don't have a government and we don't have police, then the big dude can just take my shoes at any moment. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. So it's important. It is important that we have a government because our government is what keeps us, keeps order. All right. So what do you think the good things are about having a government? I got this one. I think the good thing is that, people have someone that they can trust to make sure everything goes right for them. Right. Right. And when you say that they can trust that everything goes right for them, what exactly? Yeah, like a protector. Right. That's good. It's like a protector. It does keep order. So with us being in a democracy, the video said that the democracy, does it have the vote of everyone, or does it just have the vote of one person?
It said that it has the vote of everyone. That's what I heard.
Very good. Very good. So in the United States, we already discussed that we do have a government. What do you think is bad about our government? We're not going to call out any one particular politician, no matter how we feel. It's still a democracy. It's still.
I know, right? I think that personally, I think that what's bad about our government is basically that they don't go for the majority is more so geared towards who has the most money. So I feel like they're not for the people, therefore more who has the most money.
Well, that sounds. Doesn't that sound more like one of the other governments that we talked about? I mean, that's a good point. Does it sound like a democracy, or does it sound like any of the other two?
With the oligarchy but then one was, they said one was basically democracy had rules like socialism in it. So basically government same idea that governs the other governments kind of govern the democracy also.
Right. So it's like you're talking about an autocracy. So let's talk about an autocracy just for a second. So the thing about an autocracy is that there are different types of autocracies. So can you think of an autocracy where all of the people don't vote, but there's a few limited number of people or one person that votes?
A dictatorship.
A dictatorship, exactly. Can you think of any countries that are a dictatorship?
Well, one time Germany was a dictatorship, but right now I think Cuba may be a dictatorship. Cuba's not a dictatorship, which I think Cuba is. I know for sure Cuba is a dictatorship. Russia is a dictatorship. China is a dictatorship. Keep going. So yeah, I think those.
Well, I mean, those are good because we're actually going to be talking about those countries, some of those countries, and our relationship or the different type of relationships that we have based on our government with those countries. So the United States government versus North Korean government, or United States versus an England government. So do you think that the England or the British government, is it the same or different?
I don't think it's the same.
Why so?
More so because, the United States, it's kind of like, we do a lot of business and things with them. And so we're really one and the same, but we're not the same because it seems like the people have a vote to hold office here in the United States opposed to like Germany or Russia or something. So am I kind of answering the question?
You are. So in Germany, they do take a vote, and they do get to vote. Russia, not so much. I think the president there is Putin, something like that. Okay, there we go. And then we've got going back to England. What type of government do you think England has?
Well, I think England is a monarchy, isn't it?
Right. That's right. That is correct. And what's the difference between the United States government and the English government that makes us similar?
Well, the United States came from the monarchy rule, right? And so basically, a lot of what governs our constitution and things of such came from the England government, and so they're kind of like our parents in a way.
So, and that's a valid point, Nakira. Why do you think that we didn't go to a monarch?
Because I think because slavery for one had a big part to play with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just my thinking. Slavery and the way that I guess at the time with the taxation and things of such, like individuals did not want to be a part of that slavery in a way, became the resources and commodities, and they wanted to be free from that. And so, in order to do that, they had to break the cycle, break the concept of a monarch rule of one individual group, and let individuals have say so they win the majority support.
And that's pretty close. They actually went from England to the United States because they just didn't want to be ruled by one person. They didn't want to follow the rules. So guess what? They went off and made their own rules. Now, the interesting thing is that they came over they said they were coming over for monetary purposes, religious purposes, but it just seems like you mentioned slavery, and we'll talk about that in another unit. But because you did bring it up, that became a commodity. Slaves became a commodity. So it's almost like it turned into its own monarchy.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah. So let's get back to the democracy for a second. Democracy is when you give everyone decision-making power. So going back to when we were talking about them moving from England to America, do you think they moved because they had equal power? Or because, well, do you think that they moved from England because they were happy with the balance of power?
No, they could have been happy if they could have moved. But I thought at one time that they had explored here. They were sent here to explore by England, and after getting here, they kind of wanted to establish themselves. I didn't think they ran from England. I thought it was more so the exploration that they had to do.
And a lot of it's a combination of both. Like that's really, really good. Like your dad must be proud of you because that's good. It's a combination of both where you send the people off and they say, oh, we see better over here. We could probably make our way. For a while before the war, the British and American War happened, America was under Britain law. That's why we said we want to be independent. So, you're right. It is a combination of both. The king sent people over, and they got over here and said, you know what, we like what we see. But they were still under the king's rule, even though they were in America, until they, got their own independence. And when they got their own independence, that's when that new democracy started, where everyone had a vote, but your vote was represented by one person in your area.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like a representative or something.
Exactly. So that's good. So we've talked about two types of governments. What's the first one? Democracy. What is a democracy?
Democracy is represented by majority rules, pretty much.
Okay, good. It is represented by majority rules. What was the second type of government we talked about? The oligarchy. The oligarchs. And actually, we talked about the autocracies. There are different types of autocracies that are inside of an autocracy. So we talked about the monarchy, which is an autocracy. We talked about dictatorship, which is an autocracy. Another one we're going to talk about very briefly is going to be an emperor. So what do you think an emperor is?
Basically a military, like emperors were in. Oh no, because it's a military rule, but an emperor was sustained by a family, so it's like kind of like almost like a monarchy, but different. So the emperor's power, but it's more
It is backed by military power. Have you ever seen Mulan?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like a whole movie about war. So that's pretty good. Listen, we're about to switch stations now, and station 2 right here. We're going to go to station 3. Station 3, you'll go to station 1, and station 1, you'll come over here to station 2. Did everybody get that? All right, let's switch.